Hello, and welcome to the Kathleen Spracklin podcast. I am a woman on a mission to assemble a cadre of writers, thinkers, and teachers who are transforming the world one character at a time. And it all starts with one thing: a deep understanding of human motivation, why people do what they do, and the forces that drive them. This is episode 35, Mastering Your Emotions, Two Distinct Approaches. I've been reading a rather interesting book entitled How Emotions Are Made by Lisa Feldman Barrett. It's been an interesting read, but I think I'm going to set it aside after today. She doesn't ever go at an organizational level. She never goes past emotions. She talks about things under emotions, like the chemistry, the biology by which emotions are constructed, but she does not go much into anything at the conceptual level above emotions. And she concludes that there really is no such thing as a rational mind, and there is no real such thing as a continuous self, that the brain really constructs a new concept of the self fresh every day, and that it's an illusion that we even have a self. That's an interesting theme that a fiction writer might want to take up. And in fact, there are many interesting themes for a fiction writer within the book. But in terms of things that will aid a fiction writer in carrying a story, I did not find too much that was there, which was a little bit of a disappointment, because you'd think an entire book on emotions would provide some pretty terrific insight for a fiction writer. As I said, it did provide another number of fascinating themes for fiction writers, so I would not dismiss it, but it doesn't provide a whole lot in terms of assisting the fiction writer in portraying characters. But a rather interesting thing comes about in chapter 9, which is going to be my last blog post on this particular book, where she talks about mastering your emotions. And because in her world, emotions can't really be pinned down, they are culturally different from one to another. They're very squirrely things, which for that I would not really disagree at all. But because there's no higher organizational principle to go with them, you simply have to go at them directly. If you want to master your emotions, then it has to be some general thing that you do to put a cap on the bubbly nature that could effervesce in unpleasant ways at any time in your life. And so the methods that she proposes for how you can get a better control of this are just increasing general wellness, because she talks about your emotional energy budget. And if you've had good nutrition, good rest, you're not under stress, this will enable you to respond to emotions more effectively. Can't disagree with it. Then she talks about a rather interesting one, the concept of augmenting your vocabulary. And in particular, she recommends learning words from a foreign vocabulary, because because we don't take them so much for granted, we're more ready to take a look at what they really mean and imply. And the more concepts we have floating around, the more ways we can think about our emotions. And if we can think about them with our rational mind, we have a better chance of trying to control them. And then the third mechanism that she gives is to recategorize situations. If we feel threatened by a situation, to step back and say, now really, does that really affect me? Am I just taking that on when I don't need to be doing that? And a recategorization or a reframing of a situation can be very, very handy. But to me, these seem very general, and they're all just like, if you're in better health, if you've got better energy, if you've got better intellectual development, And if you're more imaginative in how you approach a situation, you'll do a better job of keeping emotions in control. I can't disagree with it, but to me, I think it misses the mark if you imply that that's all the more that can be done. And that's where I will come up with a completely distinct approach from her approach. My approach involves mastering the struggles within your zone of awareness. We've talked several times in this blog about the concept of the zone of awareness. Many things we go through life, and many times we just don't think about things. They're just off in the upper reaches of our brain and we're not thinking about them. Or else, on the other level, they're just a part of our lives. We do them automatically and we don't think about them a whole lot. But there are a group of situations, a group of struggles, of the common 28 struggles that are common to all humankind through all human history and even extending back into animal history. There are some that for the rational mind are in this area that I call the zone of awareness. They're in the area where your conscious mind is making decisions. Maybe for you, take a child who's struggling with keeping his room neat. Getting up in the morning, the child is consciously making a choice. Am I going to make my bed or not? That's the example of something when it's in the zone of awareness. And for adults as well, there'll be something that we're well aware of. Am I going to make this choice to do this thing? Am I going to put off sending the thank you note one more day? Countless things where we are well aware that there's something going on in our zone of awareness. Well, if you want to master your emotions, then it helps to realize that any of these struggles have emotions that are attached to them. And you know this well if you stop and think about the thing that you've been putting off or the thing you've been struggling to do, the thing that is in your zone of awareness. You don't have to spend much time with it at all to know that there are emotions attached to that. And it's in part because of those emotions that you might be having a hard time consistently making yourself obey your plan, the plan that your rational mind has set for you. Well, if you want to master your emotions, the most powerful thing you can do in that regard is to take whatever it is that's in your zone of awareness. And in many ways, it doesn't matter what that thing is, but that thing that you're struggling with, that you're quite capable of saying yes to or no to or later to or I don't want to, and doing the thing that will add the most tranquility, add the most stability to your life. Make the choice that will give you added stability. When you do that, and when you do that again and again and again, you're increasing the voice of victory and enabling it to grow, and you're shrinking the voice of loss so that it becomes increasingly quiet, and that struggle becomes more a part of your normal daily behavior. It shifts into the zone of stability. It becomes an anchor trait instead of a rudder trait. And what that will do is that enhanced voice of victory will speak loud and clear to the next item that was in the zone where you was just a wing trait, where you could not reach it exactly, you couldn't grasp onto it and make a choice. Now, because of your victory in the other field, your victory voice will sound louder, and that other thing that was unreachable for you will come within your zone of awareness. Then you work on that one. So it's a one at a time thing, but it's a very specific thing. And because you're always working within your zone of awareness, if you're always working with your rudder trait, it is by definition something that you can do. Okay, talk to you tomorrow.